Today I'd like to talk about a tabletop role-playing game set in a far future where technology has somewhat fallen apart due to centuries of warfare and conflict, and feudalism has combined with interstellar corporate structures to reshape the destiny of mankind. Oh, I'm not talking about Dune. I'm actually talking about Mechwarrior. I got this a couple weeks ago. It was somewhat cynical. There's been kind of an ongoing fervor erupting out of the Games Workshop community over some of the decisions that Games Workshop is making in regards to how well they control their IP, in particular Warhammer 40,000, 40K. Now, I'm not a wargamer. I did used to play Battletech back when I was a teenager, a long time ago, and read a lot of the novels, but it just didn't really stick with the hobby. I'm not big on painting miniatures and doing stuff like that. And generally back then it was just kind of hard to find and talk people into playing it. Most of the people who I knew who were gamers at the time were real hardcore into, D&D style tabletop gaming with little to no miniatures used at all. Times have changed somewhat. And because apparently there's been an exodus from 40K to Battletech, I felt, I constantly looking for some sort of content to hear to put on my new gaming channel, Total Party Skills. Be sure to hit like and subscribe. And, I know a little bit about Battletech. I could dust off the memory files and, maybe pick up a box set. A couple years ago, I had picked up the beginner's box, but, aside from just kind of playing through it once by myself just to kind of, refigure out the rules, I had no one to play with it, so it's been sitting on a shelf. Anyway, long story short, there's kind of a bit of a miniatures glut on Amazon. It's hard to find box sets of anything, so I at least was able to pick up, the Total Warfare rulebook and Mechwarrior Destiny, which I've glanced at a few times, but because of my memories of the old FASA version of this game, I never, pulled the trigger on getting hold of a copy of it. And then to my surprise, while I'm looking through it yesterday, it suddenly occurs to me that this is one of the very few role-playing games, like maybe 3 or 4 in total, that I don't really have any complaints with. I'm fine with the rules and I like the setting. Like, who knew? And then, like overnight, this channel I'd been watching for the last couple weeks just to get kind of caught up on Battletech lore again before trying to make any videos on the subject. I believe it's like Black Pants Media or Black Pants something. It's a guy named Tex. Does really nice, long, in-depth, in-character type videos just on the history of Battletech. Some of the major events like the Kerensky Exodus and like the history behind the design of some of the more famous mechs. And he did like a podcast with Arch, who's also like a 40K person who I've only kind of heard of on the periphery and occasionally have seen him pop up on some podcasts of some of the more political channels that I'll monitor. But anyway, I ended up watching that. It seemed fine. And then apparently the internet decided to come after the guy. So in the midst of all this controversy of everyone trying to cancel Battletech now, right after Battletech sees like a huge surge in sales to a point where like suddenly all their box sets disappear from availability, and you have nothing else to be able to buy from them but books. Hi, I'm King Waspinator. This is my channel, and as I said, like, Mechwarrior Destiny is a pretty damn solid game from what I've looked at so far. The rule system is pretty streamlined, and like Battletech itself, it's kind of designed that you can kind of bolt levels of complexity atop of it. It's also easy to convert your characters back and forth between the Mechwarrior version to Battletech stats so that you can use the miniatures game as a way to resolve large-scale battles. But the thing that I find attractive about it is that it doesn't necessarily wedge you to having to be Mechwarriors despite the name of the game. I kind of made the analogy that there are some kind of similarities to Dune. I mean, it is a expansive 1,000-year-old, galactic society that's like kind of somewhat fractured into feudal noble houses that are heavily influenced by, the military-industrial complex kind of stuff. And there's a lot of adventure potential to be found throughout it. There's like a long swath of the timeline is playable at different points of the timeline. in terms of like the various developments that happened over the course of history, over the course of the Secession Wars. You could play through the Ameris Civil War. You could do the clan invasions. You can even go into some of the latter day stuff that Battletech had designed for the timeline, like the Comstar Jihad and whatnot. It's up to you. It gives you a lot of variabilities, and you get very different tones and different potential kind of campaign styles out of those different areas. The volume of space itself is also big, depending on where you choose to set things. You can have radically different combinations of houses and conflicts, and it's scalable. Virtually anywhere potentially has the ability to have adventure in it, and you can have those adventures be relatively small-scaled little campaigns about a group of characters on one planet, or even one city on one planet, and their efforts to control it and protect it. Up to, you can have big interstellar campaigns of intrigue, crime, and warfare. It has enough of an everyman element in it compared to, say, games like Dune, where you can much better approach things like playing characters at the bottom, salvage experts, explorers, smugglers, criminal organizations. You could also play from the other end of the spectrum and have it be an extremely in-depth interstellar political intrigue game between either intrigue within a household or intrigue between households. It's got a ton of potential. And yeah, I was hoping to do maybe something a bit more thorough, but seeing all this stuff going on with this text cat is kind of it's kind of thrown off my thoughts, because like the internet's just doing what the internet's doing. Ignore the idiots. The guy did nothing wrong. None of these people did anything wrong. So I mean, and I don't know, like, shouldn't Mechwarrior be a game for people of a conservative bent? I don't know. I guess no one knows. Anyway, those have been my thoughts. Check out Mechwarrior. It's a pretty fucking solid game, which I was not really expecting to be the case. So, yeah. Anyway, I guess once I got my thoughts back more together, I'll be back with even more delicious Mechwarrior content. Be sure to tell me below how bad I am as a person. Tell me how I'm wrong about Arch and Tex. Tell me how I'm wrong about Mechwarrior. The key important part is that you, the viewer, are the smartest person in the room. Have a good one.